Hi, my name is Matt Weatherly from Public Sector Personnel Consultants, providing an overview of the upcoming classification and compensation study. You'll have an opportunity to participate. We'll do our best to communicate all of our findings and recommendations. We wanted to spend maybe just 10 to 15 minutes providing a brief overview of what to expect, what not to expect, and then certainly highlight the job questionnaire that will give you the ability to review your job description. As the name of our firm suggests, public sector personnel consultants, this is all that we do. We do classification reviews, job description studies, salary surveys, and design compensation plans for public employers, cities, counties, school districts, special districts, library districts. We've had a chance to work with multiple libraries across the United States, some recent ones, King County up in Washington, High Plains Library in Colorado, um, Great River Regional Library in Minnesota, and several others. All that qualifies us to do is ask good questions. Those questions include what factors influence LCLS's ability to recruit and retain staff? When we are able to recruit employees, where do we tend to get them from? If we lose employees, where are we losing them to? So being very sensitive to kind of defining the market, confirming a compensation philosophy or strategy. So we'll get into some of those details. A couple of highlights though before we start. This is something that your employer wants to do for you, not to you. Very important distinction. When we do a classification and compensation study, it is never intended to replace the budget process. It is not a performance review. It is not a staffing needs analysis. It is simply a means of measuring your current position up against the market, confirming that your job title and job description make sense. And it is not the process by which everyone sees a salary adjustment, right? That's what maybe the regular budget process is for, or any other regular annual adjustment that you might receive through either a performance review, a cost of living, a board discussion, the approval of the budget, that kind of thing. A couple of highlights as far as the study. The first is really kind of the first phase, and that is a position classification review. There are 30 to 40 different job descriptions currently in place. We want you to have an opportunity to review your job description, complete a position analysis questionnaire. You can do that either individually or as part of a group. What that does is provide us with information to ensure when we're doing the salary survey that the information is accurate, up to date, and that you have seen it. At the classification level, we may propose some slight title modifications. We may propose creating some new job descriptions or some new job titles. Our only marching order there is to get it right, ensuring that we have career ladders, growth opportunities, accurate job titles, and accurate job descriptions is really the solid foundation on which further kind of conversation could occur about compensation. You'll have work time to complete the questionnaire. You'll have really probably about a month. We're going to look at early to mid-January for you to have the questionnaires completed. So I'll provide that due date and deadline in just a moment. You can work on these as a group. It is your job that we are studying, but if there are 5 or 6 of you that perform the same job duties and you're cross-trained and you want to fill out one questionnaire as a group, the system will allow you to kind of tag some friends and complete a group questionnaire. You can also fill out your own questionnaire, so it's certainly up to you. But the idea is to make sure that everybody has had an opportunity to review job descriptions before we do a compensation survey. We will be collecting job descriptions, salary plans, organization charts, pay plans from perhaps other library employers. There could be some local data included from both the public and the private sector. So if the library competes with, Laramie County or, the city of Cheyenne or the school district or any other, local agencies, public or private, we may include some data there, as well as other, either large or medium-sized library systems, whether it's throughout the state, it looks into Colorado, wherever it makes sense. And so we'll be working on defining that list of comparators and competitors. And that gives us the opportunity to do that salary survey based on your job description and allows us to ask, and answer hopefully 2 very critical questions. The first is simply, how are we doing compared to those we're competing with? Is our pay plan consistent? Are we offering competitive salaries and salary ranges for each of our positions? Follow-up would be, if we are not, where do we want to be, or where do we need to be with salaries, with benefits, with compensation offerings that will allow us to recruit and retain staff? So again, two big questions here on this screen. How are we doing? And then where do we want to be, or where do we need to be in order to ensure that we're able to staff our positions? Some common outcomes: a little bit of titling cleanup, like I mentioned. We might remove, a job title or two if they're unused or obsolete. We may clarify or propose a title change for some positions. We can create, some new job titles and some new job descriptions wherever that makes sense. On the compensation side, it's first a paper exercise. If we have a salary plan with salary ranges, how are we doing compared to market? If some salary ranges need to be adjusted, what is that impact on paper, on the pay scale, and then on people? If we move your salary range, do we ponder moving your salary along with that salary range? Also, right behind that is how are we doing on employees' salaries moving through the pay range? So we might be looking at defining what being at the bottom of the pay range means, being at the middle of the pay range means, and really ensuring that our journey level competent performers are moving through our pay range. That is typically the goal when we move from maybe a paper exercise to a people exercise. Not very common that everyone sees a salary adjustment as a result of the study. Some positions may be at market already, which is great. There may be some positions that have fallen behind, and if we catch up those positions' salary ranges, we may also need to catch up individual employee salaries accordingly. So some employees may see an adjustment, some may see a little bit more adjustment than others, and some may not see an adjustment. Just kind of varies. Again, not intended to replace the budget process, the performance review process, or however else you typically see salary increases. Any increases that we do propose would certainly need to be budgeted, so we need to be able to afford them. They would need to be approved by the board, and then obviously funded by the library to ensure we're kind of matching up, ability and intent to pay at a certain level. If that means that we want to position all of our jobs at market average, or a little bit ahead of market, or within 5% of market, there's lots of options that we'll be presenting for the library to consider. The position analysis questionnaire process I mentioned, it'll take an hour or two to complete the questionnaire. You can complete these as a group or individually. Our due dates show up on this screen, and I'll mention these again. We want you to have tackled a job questionnaire either individually or as part of a group by January 12th. Again, try not to take more than 2 hours on the questionnaire. It really flows about 4 pages, maybe 4.5 pages. And then I've got screenshots coming up in our video here that will kind of clue you in on some things that we'll be looking for. Also embedded in the online questionnaire, when you go to start a questionnaire, are some brief video snippets for each section. So if you want to click on those as well, you can kind of get a little bit of an idea and some hints or some tips in each of the sections. Supervisors will not change what employees put on their questionnaire. There is really, the system will generate a PDF of your questionnaire. It will go to your supervisor or manager. They will have the opportunity to add comments, but not change anything that you put on that questionnaire. Supervisors, managers will have another week to do that review. They will have a questionnaire to fill out themselves because all jobs are included in the study. We start with a little bit of housekeeping. You will see an email that will go out to everyone, probably embedded in or with this video, a link that will allow you to start a new questionnaire, so a new PAQ. We have pre-populated the drop-down menu that you see on this screen, so you can hopefully find yourself by name, by department, by job title. It will start to populate. Double check that your email address pops up correctly, that your supervisor's name and email address pops up correctly. If any of that is incorrect, you can edit it. So we've got a second page here that allows you to clean up or input or override anything that pops up in that pre-populated dropdown. If you're working on this questionnaire as part of a group, you will have an opportunity to select other employees and add their name to it. As we navigate through the presentation and through the online questionnaire, you will see these next buttons start to pop up. You can navigate next and back through the PAQ. Do that rather than the back and next button on your web browser. If you're filling it out as a group, I mentioned you can tag some friends. You can work on these as a group, or you can start on a separate piece of paper and have one person, type it all up. Also talk to library leadership. They have the questionnaire as a Word document. So if you prefer to fill it out longhand, or if you want to fill it out just kind of on your desktop instead of the web-based version, that is also totally acceptable. Click on these next and back buttons as we move through. The first major section of our questionnaire asks you to summarize your position. So if a long lost relative, or the elevator speech when somebody asks you what you do for a living, what do you tell them? Think very high level for a moment. Think about the services that you're providing, the responsibility that your job has in the library providing services, whether that's by department, by program. If you're back of house, supporting those that have front desk responsibilities and interaction with patrons, or maybe your job has both. We also recognize that some of you may wear multiple hats, meaning specifically, hey, I am a library assistant, but I'm also a help desk technician. So I'm doing a broader range of duties. We don't need 2 questionnaires, but if you want to split your thoughts and say, hey, job number 1, here's some tasks and duties. Job number 2, here's some tasks and some duties. You can look at it that way. We'll be doing the salary survey. Don't worry too much about the question on the bottom, but if you have some peers or have some thoughts about some different job titles for your position, let us know. Click next on this page, and it will take us to probably the hardest page on the questionnaire. This is a blank page that on a piece of paper really gives us about 8 boxes to write down duties, tasks, functions, and actions. What you will notice on the top of this screen is that we start to see a banner that follows us now that says save and continue later. So if you want to work on this for a little bit or you get interrupted, this is very important. If you save and continue later and you close out, you will get a new email. That email will take you right to where you left off. So the only time that we will use the email that goes out or the link in our original email that goes out will be to start a new questionnaire. If you've progressed through a couple of pages and you select save and continue later, the system will send you a new email that says, hey, pick back up where you left off, click this link. So make sure you go to the most recent email if you save, continue later, and close the browser at any point. The system will trap your progress. We can resend the link, so don't panic that your work might have gotten lost. But just wanted to point out that banner starts to follow us. On this page of the questionnaire, if there are tasks that you perform every day, I would write them down on this page. If there are tasks that you perform less frequently, but you believe are important, I would put them on this page. This does not necessarily need to add up to 100%. You don't have to tell us about 8 tasks. Maybe there's 6, maybe there's 16. However much information, there is no character limit to what goes in these boxes. This becomes the body of your job description. What I mean by that are probably 10 to 12 bullet points that describe duties, functions, assigned responsibilities, and tasks that you're performing when you're at work. The next page, if we've successfully written down what we do and what tasks we perform, give some thought to what you have to know and what you have to be good at. Do you have to have customer service skills, communication skills, computer skills, skill in resolving conflict or complaints, skill in multitasking, skill in creating maybe age-appropriate materials, programs, curriculum? Give us an idea there when we start to build the next section of your job description, knowledge and skills. Are you referring to any sources of information? So maybe there's a procedure manual at your desk. Maybe there's other materials that you're referencing. So list out any sources of information. Again, that save and continue later banner follows us around. The next piece goes fairly quickly, but we are looking for your opinion. Suppose for a moment that you are promoted or you're ready to move on, and we ask for your help in recruiting your own replacement before we let you go. What do you look for on someone's resume, job application that would suggest they can come and learn how to perform the tasks that we've just talked about? Does your job require a high school diploma and a couple of years of experience? maybe a 2 or 4 year degree or a master's degree in library information sciences? Is there previous work experience required? Does your job require any licenses or certifications? Tell us about that. A little bit cut off here, but at the bottom, how physical is your job? Are you doing a lot of lifting, a lot of carrying, a lot of reaching above your head? Tell us about any physical demands for the compliance with Americans with Disabilities Act. Does your body physically need to be capable of doing some of those tasks while you're at work? Our next section, how do you receive your work instructions? Maybe after you've been in your position for a couple of years, you've got quite a bit of autonomy. You get to decide what to work on, what priorities and deadlines exist. Maybe, when you're having open hours, your first priority is always that patron or that customer. Are there other things that you're working on when you don't have a patron or a customer that you're interacting with? Maybe there's projects that are assigned. Do you get to decide from step A to step Z how those projects are completed? Are there occasions when instructions are not provided? So just a sentence or two, give us an example or explain kind of your answer. Are there natural touch points for you and your supervisor to meet up? Is there a point at which your supervisor reviews your work? Give us an idea there. Again, the save and continue later. So if at any point you need to come back to this, just go to that more recent emailed link that the system will send you. It's probably going to take 30 to 60 minutes because it will kind of reformat some things and then send you a link for wherever you leave off. Our last section there, are you making significant decisions? Are there things that require your authorization, your approval? Do you have budgetary responsibilities, purchasing responsibilities? What types of decisions are you expected to make without clearing them with your supervisor versus what comes up that your supervisor or manager wants to be the one to sign off? What are the most difficult or important decisions that you are expected to make? Hopefully not too many life and death decisions, but is there a potential liability to the decisions that you're making? And then at the bottom of this page and the top of the next screenshot, who do you come into contact with? As I mentioned kind of in the opener, are you interacting with other departments across the library? Are you interacting with patrons, with customers, vendors, suppliers, contractors, other local agencies, other library agencies, anything like that? If there's anything that you would like to share with us, this kind of middle of this box, there's room there. Any other questions that we should or shouldn't have asked that you want to tell us anything about? And then one more section. If you supervise other employees, if you supervise volunteers, student workers, tell us about those folks. Who and how many people are you responsible for? If it is employees, are you part of the hiring process, the training process, approving time off requests, that kind of thing? When you select next, our pretty much last page on the questionnaire will allow you to kind of drag your mouse across, sign, and then type in your name. The moment that you hit next on this particular page, so on this screenshot, that's it. The questionnaire will come to you and to your email address as a PDF. Your supervisor will also receive it as a PDF, and it will say, hey, your employee has completed a questionnaire. Click here to sign off or add comments. Okay, so again, nobody will change what you put on your questionnaire, but when you get to that signature block, this will be it. If you want to save and continue later and you're not quite ready to submit it, that is fine. Just know that once you hit next, I won't say that you can't get it back, but you'll probably need to reach out to your supervisor or to human resources, whoever handles the human resources function at the library, and we can kind of recreate and redistribute that link if we need to. So supervisors will get notification. You will receive a PDF of the questionnaire. So too will your supervisor. Again, January 12th, we want you to have had a chance to complete the questionnaire and turn that into your supervisor. They will have until January 19th. Now, globally, the project will probably take a good 90 days from that January date for us to complete a salary survey, recommend updated pay ranges for all positions, communicate draft findings to leadership, maybe to board and their designees. So with that, I will turn off the video. I want to thank you in advance for completing the questionnaire and for taking a look at it either individually or as part of a group. Again, meant to be a very positive thing that the library wants to do. So we're very excited about partnering. Thank you in advance for that job questionnaire, and hopefully we'll get a chance to meet everybody in person. Thanks again.